Cute little kitty feet. Getting off to a pretty rough start today, but that mountain looks really inviting. So I may get up there and do some exploration. See if that shifts things. I love how the cloudy, foggy mist is starting to yield to a little bit of blue. It's rich. That's my destination off there in the top of that hill. That's the turnaround. Well worth the climb. This rime ice is really beautiful. Little snowflakes frozen to the branches. Awesome. Oh, that gray blue sky is delicious. Wow, it's actually much bluer in person. The camera's making it kind of dark gray. Oh, I've never seen such a beautiful blue. Those white trees framing it up. I'm just gonna stop and show you for a moment. Oh my God. That's what heaven looks like. Happy new day. I'm out boot slogging on the power lines in Woodford, Vermont, and feeling great, having lots of fun thoughts. And I'm listening to a book called Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg, which has been recommended to me by quite a few people that watch my videos. One of them said, hey, you must have read his book because it sounds like you're using his tools. And I find that kind of funny because these tools are something I've been working on for a long time, decades. And I don't claim ownership to them. James Clear has Atomic Habits. Baby Steps have been around forever. And now BJ Fogg in 2020 releases Tiny Habits. But he is kind of claiming that he's the only one to ever come across this model that he uses, the Fogg model of behavior change. Interesting how his name is attached to it. And I'm an hour and a half into the book, and while I'm finding some useful information in it, it's not a throwaway. He's done some good research. But the first hour of the book is a lot of him trying to establish his reputation. Like, I am the authority that you should be listening to when it comes to behavior change or habit change. I'm the only one who has discovered the secret to long-term behavior change, and it's the Fogg model. It is the key, the missing key that unlocks the mystery of habit change. And this really turns me off. Again, you know, this stuff has been around for thousands of years. And people just put a different package on it, they put different branding on it, and they try to sell it as something new. And again, this is why it takes me so long to get a book out. Because I don't want to be that guy. I want to find a way to communicate this information that's personal, but not in a way that I'm claiming ownership. So, with that out of the way, let's talk about what he's saying. He says that behavior change is a simple formula. Behavior equals motivation plus ability plus prompt. So, in Charles Duhigg's book, The Power of Habit, I think, he calls prompt cue. So there is a cue, something cues you. But no, BJ Fogg has to have a new word, prompt, which I always find hilarious. Anyway, and I come up with my own words. I'm not outside of doing that, but I don't do it because I want to have it be my model. It's just I find fun ways to play with words. So anyway, if you are motivated and if you have the ability to follow through on something, then if there is a prompt, behavior will take place. Action will take place. He says that you are above the action line when motivation and ability are above zero when prompted. But that if you lack motivation or lack ability, behavior may not take place. You might be totally motivated to do something like run a 4-minute mile, but you don't have the ability, so it's not going to happen. Or you might have the ability, but you're unmotivated, so it's not going to happen. A lot of people sit around not engaging, not moving their bodies, but they're able to do so. So he makes it very, very simple. And there's a few more things he throws in there. One is that you shouldn't be stressed as you engage in this process. You should feel good as you engage in this process. And you should use positive affirmations to tell yourself, this is going to be a great day. This is going to be an amazing day. So there's some kind of new age self-help, affirmative language and tools. And then there's this motivation, ability, prompt, etc. And there's value in that. I'm not going to discount that. But there's a huge missing piece. And why I'm making this video today is that here I am on a boots log on a day, which is common for me, where I had zero motivation, not 5%, but zero. Didn't feel like I had any ability because my energy was through the floor. I've been so tired lately. I've been waking up at 9 o'clock, which is not normal for me. So getting out of bed, dragging, getting to the studio, slowly taking steps, not really motivated to do anything at all, especially go up into the mountains and slog through the snow in heavy boots. And not only that, but I was afraid to come up here. It wasn't just lack of motivation and energy. I was scared because early last week I sprained my ankle or twisted it a few times. And it was starting to really bother me, even just walking around. So I thought, okay, I gotta back off. And I did a lot of elliptical. And the last 2 days I did some Bigfoot light walking on the treadmill at a 10% incline. And it felt okay. So today I was prompted. And again, here's the prompt or the cue. Maybe movement is what you need. Maybe movement will make you feel better. Maybe movement will create energy and therefore motivation. Maybe movement will unlock abilities that you're not currently aware of or energy that you're not currently experiencing. And that's the key thing, that there's an identity, which we all have, which is framing the world or looking at the world through a particular lens, through a particular window. And what we see is shaped by our identities. So my identity is feeding me this narrative, which includes feelings, affect in the body, that I have no energy, I can't do anything, so therefore no ability. And that I just have no interest, lack of dopamine. I'm very much in the right hemisphere. I have a right shift, otherwise known as depression. The left hemisphere of the brain is driven largely by dopamine, but the right hemisphere of the brain is not. So motivation and dopamine, all these books that you hear about related to dopamine, that's largely just in the left hemisphere. You don't hear that in these books though. So when you're in the right hemisphere, it's noradrenaline or norepinephrine, depending on whether you're in Europe or the United States. In the US, we call it epinephrine or norepinephrine. In Europe, they call it adrenaline or noradrenaline. Same chemical. So I'm talking about doctors. Average people in the US also call it adrenaline, but doctors call it epinephrine. The right hemisphere is about vigilant attention. The left hemisphere is about focused attention. I'm focused on that and I want it. And that's dopamine. Dopamine is the chemical of desire. It's the chemical of go after something. It's a chemical of motivation. You're motivated to go get that one thing. Right hemisphere, vigilant attention, norepinephrine is about being aware of potential threats all around you. Like what is what is going on in my environment. Rather than focusing on one thing, that could be dangerous because I could miss something else. Let's have a vigilant, broad attentional focus. A different chemical, different means of focusing, different lens. So which lens is your identity using? The focused motivational lens of the left hemisphere, or the unfocused, wide, broad, fuzzy, vigilant lens of the right hemisphere? And then there are additional lenses and filters on top of that. I won't go into too much detail, but for me, I know through lots of experience that my identity is one of depression. That's the story it tells me. It's one of failure. It's one of worthlessness. It's one of inadequacy. It's one that doesn't feel capable or competent. It doesn't feel like it has permission, or it lacks entitlement. And all of these things could be lumped into the category of low self-esteem. I have bottom level self-esteem. So if I try to operate through my identity in the left hemisphere, I'm going to fall flat every time. And I've learned that there is no way out of a depression using that method. And his method in this book is somewhat useful, but still he doesn't take identity into consideration. And that's a gigantic missing piece. And when he says, don't take this so seriously, don't stress about it, just make sure that you feel good when you take these little tiny steps. Well, how do you do that? How do you just feel good? How do you not stress about it? How do you not take it so seriously? Like, okay, you've thrown some pretty big concepts out there, but haven't given anybody so far access to how does one do that. And this is where identity comes in, or should I say, this is where identity comes out. I'm not out here because my identity pushed me out here. I'm not out here because of motivation. I'm out here because I allowed my right hemisphere vigilant attention to take in my studio, just map everything in the studio, and then I gave my left hemisphere, which is there a little bit, it's not totally shut off, it's just not as powered as the right. I said, okay, left hemisphere, work with the right here and find the most interesting thing in everything that we looked at. Look at all those clothes that I spread out. Which one's the most interesting? And it focuses on one. But it's not a big project. It's just focus on a piece of clothes. Okay, now let's go touch it. And then we let the right hemisphere come in. The left hemisphere picked it up, grabbed it, dopamine, I want that. Right hemisphere comes in and says, oh, this feels good. Or, I don't like the way this feels. Find another one, left hemisphere. So I give it little jobs to do, but there's not really motivation. I'm just allowing my right hemisphere to take in the whole scene and then allowing the left to find something in it interesting. But it's not about I'm motivated to go up the mountain, or even I'm motivated to get dressed. I'm not motivated at all, and I don't need to be. I just allow myself to exist as a creature outside of identity, like a cat. If you watch a cat or a dog, they're making decisions all the time. But not because they're motivated, not because they have plans, not because they have some trajectory, not because they're trying to look good on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. It's because they're just nudged one way or the other. And we have that same brain hardware, the nudging brain hardware. So motivation is like trying to push yourself from the bottom. Whereas the right hemisphere, the nudge circuitry in the brain is kind of, you get pulled. I'm pulled towards that shirt. Why? I don't know. It's just more appealing to me. Like I'm pulled towards the blue in the distance right there. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it's blue. And I feel drawn towards it. So I don't mind moving because I'm going towards blue. That's not as appealing. That over there, that's not as appealing. But that is. So I allow myself to be pulled like an animal is pulled around. I get bumped. But I create little domains like clothing. Get nudged in the clothing direction. Get nudged in the car direction. Get nudged in the driving direction. Where am I going? I don't know. I have no idea where I'm going. I'm not motivated to go to any one particular place. I drive until suddenly that looks like the place I'm going. And maybe the place I thought would be good has a car in the parking lot. Ooh, I don't want to be around even a single person right now. Let's go to the next one. Oh, no car. Okay, there we go. That feels better. So that's why I'm here. And that's why I'm on the snowmobile trail. On the power lines rather than on the snowmobile trails. Because I could hear some snowmobiles when I started. So I thought, let's go off to where they are not. Anyway, so motivation, not necessary. Don't need it. And as far as ability or energy, this again is related to identity. Sitting in my studio, no energy, didn't feel like I could do much at all. But I have the hardware and the physiology. I have a well-trained body. And I know that. But my identity was telling me, you can't, you're too tired. You don't have the ability to go slog in the snow. But again, through lots of experience, I know that that's just the way my identity is framing it, and that fatigue is an emotion. It's not a physical reality. It's an emotion. And this is new research, and we're learning more and more about how this works. We still don't know exactly how it works. So I put on the boots, I start trudging, and the further I go, the more energy I have. Now that's interesting. If I had a limited amount of energy, or if I had a deficient amount of energy, it would decrease as I went further. And it would be getting harder and harder. The first step should be super hard because I'm tired, but then any step after that should get progressively harder. But the result is that I'm feeling better and better the longer I go. I was going to do just 4 miles, but then I saw a trail going off to the right, and I thought, let's take that. And I kept going and going and going, and before you know it, I dropped down a couple 100 feet, maybe half a mile, hit the road, turned around, climbed a couple 100 feet, added another mile to the slog with a big climb in it, and now I'm headed back, and I have tons of energy. I'm not tired at all, but my identity framed my ability or energy level as pretty low, not enough to do this. But that's only because fatigue is an emotion, and ability and energy levels I think are super important, because what stops us from engaging is more energy level than physiological ability. We feel that we don't have enough energy. That's why we put things off. So I think energy is a better term than ability, which is his term. So step outside of identity, step into your body, and that emotion of fatigue goes away, because my identity is one of inferiority and inadequacy, and so it's regularly telling me that I'm not capable, that I'm not good enough. And that's its story, and it's always going to tell me that. That's the identity that I have. Not going to go away, so I have learned to work outside of it, and that allows me to do some pretty extraordinary things on a consistent basis. And so far, that's missing from this book. So his pride, or his avarice, his bloviation, trying to establish himself as some king of the secrets of behavior change, I don't think it's well earned. And it stands out to me as someone trying to brand themselves as a guru. Now, we'll see where the book goes. But right now, frozen fingers, putting the camera away, and I'll see you soon. Even something as powerful as the sun can have a tough time burning through the fog of identity. It's a sunny day above that identity lens, but down here, it's gloomy. And this is what it looks like when you step outside of identity. It gets thinner and thinner and thinner until the blues arrive. We don't want the blues to go away. We want the blues to show up. So many rich, beautiful moments on this slog today. My energy is through the roof just moving through this environment right now. And yet back in the studio, nope, can't do it. Not available. Maybe tomorrow. Today's house project was to rip off the sheetrock here, take out the insulation, foam the cracks outside. There was a lot of air getting through. And then I'm going to rewire this box and have a line going through here to an outlet out there. So we will have power on the patio so we can have outdoor movie nights. And there it is. So now we have an outdoor waterproof outlet